Welcome to another episode of the Pirate Diffusion Show. We are sponsored by Gradient. Try all of our software free for 7 days at gradient.ai. I'm your host, Squibduck, and as usual, I'm joined by Captain Morgan Freeman and Eggs Benadryl.
Yeah.
Hey, guys.
What's going on?
Hey.
How you been?
I got pretty crispy. Remembered only too late to put on all the sunscreen. But it was like, man, it was surreal, dude. We drove a little while to get to the spot where it was at totality, and man, the crowds were pretty big. There was like police roadblocks everywhere because it was just, there's kind of bananas with the number of people trying to get into the path of totality for it. But like, whoa, that was something special. Have you guys ever seen a total eclipse like that before?
I don't think so. Wasn't there something a few years ago?
I was enjoying the memes of like the uncontacted tribes just trying to enjoy their day, and all of a sudden it like, what the heck is going on?
Oh no.
There was that, and there was also like Cloudflare had recorded that like Americans stopped using the internet for a second to look at the sky. That's cool. Like the like a big dip in the network traffic.
I was in the parking lot of a Kohler's getting a burger. That's what I did during the eclipse. I watched an employee come out all excited to go look at the sun with his little glasses. He seemed happy.
Oh my god.
I think we were like 30% or something, so it went like a tiny bit dark, and I'm like,
yeah.
Seems cloudy all of a sudden.
Yeah, it was the path of totality was pretty close, so drove just like an hour or whatever to go over to it. It was really awesome, but I'll say there was a bit of a scare. One of those, those cheap solar glasses that you can get from Amazon or whatever. Only after it happened did I actually read the freaking things to say that you shouldn't do this. You're not supposed to first of all, never put binoculars, never point binoculars at the sun. That should be obvious. But silly me, I thought, well, I'll just put these special lenses on and then it will protect me. Nope. It will burn a hole right through them, and that's exactly what happened. So I put it up to my face, and as soon as I looked at the sun, I was like, oh, that's pretty, oh my god, it's so bright. And then I took it away from my face, and then I looked, and there was two little holes, one in each of the like I basically put like a magnifying glass up to the burn my yeah, I took it away quick, but I was like blinking, and I'm just like, okay, yep.
You accidentally bought it. Blind yourself.
Don't do that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And then I was like, wow, that's super dangerous. And then I read on the thing, it's like, do not use with any optical devices. I'm like, gosh. But so far so good. It's been 2 days.
Did they also put that in Braille? So after you blind yourself, you can still read it? You can say, oh,
no. Oh, you're awful. That's so funny. Oh my gosh. What you shouldn't have done. Oh dear.
I saw some meme of like welders with their helmets going out to look at it. I'm like, that's a good idea.
That's so good. So, in other news, we're making a book. $300 cover art contest for an AI art book featuring art from our community. And that is what, due November?
We're shooting for 100 pages, and it should be out in November. We're gonna do like a print on demand thing.
My goodness!
So it'll be out. It'll be out for the holidays. I'm super excited about it. We have a designer that works in publishing that's helping put it together, and we want to showcase all of the amazing talent from the community. Is when I tell people that we have a AI bot, they think low quality memes. It can't do high resolution. They don't really think about a bot as a creative tool, like a powerful tool. And I want to change that perception and put something physical and get people look at it a little bit more critically.
Well, yeah, and especially, we see our renders on our phones or whatever all the time. It'd be something, it really puts it into a different perspective even for yourself. If you had a physical book with your artwork in it, that would be something.
Oh, yeah.
And we're looking for all kinds of topics, all kinds of styles. We want to make it a really diverse and everybody's stuff in there. So
I got the
great project
page up right now. Just scrolling through a couple.
Yeah, and you can nominate
So many
my
good
own
ones.
that I threw in there.
Yeah.
Is that like I can nominate something of yours, Eggs, right? Like there's the nominations channel. That's the contest channel. That's been converted, right?
Yes, exactly. So it used to be called Pirate Diffusion Challenges. Now it's called
Right.
Call for Entries. It's right
Gotcha.
on when you log into Gradient for the first time. If you guys can see my screen, there's a Call for Entries button towards the bottom under all the apps and tutorials, and it'll take you
Cool.
straight there. That's the
Okay,
easiest way to get to it.
That
Nice.
used to be the contest button. Okay.
Mhm.
Cool.
So
That's
just
nice
click on
and easy,
that,
right?
and
Landing page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. It's fun going
Sweet.
back. I was just looking through so many of my old renders just for cool gems and stuff, or even things to like upscale, with new methods and stuff. You learn how to do it better. You go, wow, I remember really liking that thing. Let's see if I can even make it better than it was.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, it's one of the wonderful things
For
about
sure.
the community here is just scrolling the various channels in Telegram, dropping into the different rendering groups, the different topics, and it's literally just an endless gift shop. It's so good.
Yeah, I learned so much every day just going through it. Just even Playroom where people are just goofing around. I'm like, oh, you can do that. That's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that
Oh
one.
my gosh. Overall, like if I just have a bit of a question about that book. If so, this is going to be available in the merch shop, or what is
Yes,
like it's limited run or unlimited run, print on demand? We don't know
we
yet.
haven't finalized finalized the publisher, but I will put it on the dashboard so it's easy to find. And we have a new like a what's new blog. If you go to the top of the page on the dashboard, you click on the community tab and what's new. There's a blog with some more details about the contest and some of the activities that are some of the new features. Also, it's in one place where you can read all about it.
Okay, so it's all there. Perfect. Thank you so much. That's great.
Well, and I was going to say that, so since that got revamped, the challenges group, check out individual challenges within the topics themselves, right?
Yeah.
So now let's see what we've got. I know in the fantasy group there's a Lord of the Rings challenge going on. Mark's been making some goofy stuff in here.
Oh, awesome.
Rock and roll
Those are so good.
Gandalf. Sauron and McDonald's.
Those one that's
Oh yeah.
Orcs and hobbits playing basketball. But these could be considered as well, right, for the book. So if you put something in one of these challenges.
Oh yeah, definitely nominate anything cool that you see. Forward them over to the Call for Entries channel.
Hobbit drinking wine. The hobbits are wont to do. Nice.
Lovely.
Is there anything
No.
else we were looking at covering?
I'd like to just take a moment and talk about what models, what Lauras, what are you guys enjoying lately? What are the diamonds in the rough that we could share with our listeners today?
I've got two Lauras, and I've got a serious one and a funny one. So the serious one is called, it's got a funny name though. It's called Bad Quality, and it is trying Yeah, I'll bring it up on the screen here if I can. It tries to emulate like old iPhone photos, where it punches up the white balance of the picture and the depth of field. It just like more shallow, so it looks like a street photo or something that someone took a quick low resolution photograph of.
Interesting.
It's called
So
bad quality.
like crapifies the picture.
It's very like just the examples that the creator put were like like Batman like bored in the library, or just people in the supermarket.
So good.
Like candid photos from high school, just awkward.
Oh yeah.
2008 photography.
Oh,
It's
man.
it's really cool, but for relevant to what we're talking about with realism and workflows, that's a LoRa that you can maybe work into your images. And going into the complete opposite direction, there is a funny it's like a meme LoRa where it's called Handsomizer, and it turns everything into Squidward from SpongeBob.
Oh
so
man,
you
please
can-
tell me you have a visual example of that.
So it's got a trigger. If you don't say Squidward, you get a very defined chin, and it works on anything. You could use it with anime models, and like I saw like a Handsomize Pokemon, and just
Oh really?
Epona from Link. Handsomize is terrifying. It's really funny.
Oh yeah, with the really long jaw.
Yeah, and if you mention Squidward, it'll turn it green, and it's just funny. So
Oh my gosh.
Solar Eclipse, Sansomized woman eating a hot dog.
Oh, this is
yeah.
what the world needs. There it is.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Superpowers. And
Oh,
it's really high
Friday's-
resolution. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Oh, cool. Okay.
you can it's a SDXL model, so you can do some really funny stuff with it.
You always
Sweet.
get the funny
So that
ones.
was bad quality
Yeah.
enhansomizer. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
It's endless entertainment with this one. So those are my two picks.
Love it. For my choices for models that I've been playing around with this week, one that don't be fooled by the name. It's not just for, something rather inappropriate, but the model name is SexyTune 3D-2. And it gives a really, really nice looking Pixar style look to the results. And I've compared it with Real Cartoon 3D and some of the other sort of Pixar-like or sort of semi-CGI, semi-real models. And the results are pretty staggeringly good. And when you start cranking up the size, the model still holds up pretty well. It doesn't fall apart like some of the other ones once you start getting into high resolutions such as 704 by 960. But
That looks
just
great.
some reference. Yeah, it's like the results are pretty impressive, and it does more than just characters. It applies like a very interesting sort of smoothed look to scenery as well. So I'd recommend checking out that one. It's called SexyTune 3D -2, and it's pretty interesting. It's almost like a style LoRa, I guess you could say. But it's not a LoRa. It's a base model, but it holds up quite well with pretty much any prompt and anything you give it. Eggs, how about you? What do you have for us this week?
That's definitely. I'm all about the all these Lightning models that have been out. Seems like an absolute step up from LCM. You can get renders back in 5 seconds, 10 seconds.
Now I heard you mentioning Lightning. Those are the XL models you were showing, right?
Yeah. So if you're familiar with LCM, it's a similar situation where you can get your XL renders back in 9 seconds or so for 9 of them, which would usually take more than a minute otherwise, without much, if any, quality loss, I've noticed. And it's definitely useful, I've found, for maintaining detail on realism images, which we can get into here in a bit.
Now, you had mentioned LCM, so that would be that would have been, for our listeners from a previous episode who remember, the sampler where it operates on a very low guidance and a very low step count. We're talking like less than 10. You can get away with what was LCM 5 steps, guidance 1, guidance 1.5, and it just worked.
Yep, and you could
So
use it for anything you wanted, XL or 1.5. I think now currently Lightning is just XL because they are specific models. So where LCM was a sampler you would choose, this is a model that's been merged by the creator to include this technology. And all you have to do is use the model, use those recommended settings, and you can use any sampler you like. I think some of them might have problems, like Qin or however that's pronounced. I think that one gives choppy images, but play around with all the different samples. We could do a couple examples if you want.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, that'd be really cool. Now these are, just for extra clarification before we dive in here, these are are they called lighting or lightning?
Lightning.
So I get my term.
So like fast, like quick, like lightning. Yep.
Gotcha. Okay. So super duper fast XL models with some extreme awesome tech built in that runs on low guidance and low steps. And we can use any sampler now because it's in the model, right?
Yep, absolutely. So let's go
Sweet.
take a look, see if I've got any my famous macros set up so we can do this quick, and I'll explain all the parameters I use, but just want to have to type everything. Let's see.
Man, time savers for sure.
All right. So let's see. Got that in there. Yep. All good. Let's take a look. All right. So before I type any of my prompts out, we can look at the macro that I brought up. You get your render, get your size, 1024 because it's an XL model. I do 6 images just to be quick, even though it's quick to begin with. I don't want to be waiting around while my slow internet delivers me 9 images. And I got LPW in there just for good measure. That lets you write as long prompts as you want without getting them. And, at some point they get ignored because Stable Diffusion uses a limit. You're limited. But if you pop LPW in there, you can just keep on writing. Yep, long prompt rates.
We covered that in the previous episode 6, I believe.
Yeah. And then I've got my embedding in there. I always put in there just for some extra quality. Maybe placebo. It's hard to tell with these ones.
Right.
And I chose my own sampler here. UPMS. I find that one gives a good mix of speed and detail. I think those DPM samplers are recommended a lot, but I find I get, whatever they are. I never use them, so I'm not 100% sure on that. So I find that one works perfectly. I find the Euler ones to be a little too smooth sometimes, just generally, but this one, especially with Lightning, gives good details. So here's the things that you need to change if you're going to use these models. It's your guidance and steps. So just like the LCM models, it requires low guidance and low steps. Steps is good because that means you get your images far, far faster. And
right. That's the number of passes, I guess, right? Like it's number of attempts to resolve.
So how many... So steps is a good word for it because, you start with noise. How many steps does it take to get to a finished image? Yeah. And with these kind of models in LCM, you can see it only takes 6. So 6 passes, like you say, through denoising is what they call it.
Right.
And I never use the refiner. I feel like most models nowadays with XL are good enough, so I put in no fix. And then I pop myself a Vey in there just to be safe. I never know if a model's washed out, needs updating, or we're testing a model, I just put that in there to be safe. And there's
Right,
guides
good.
on how to use these on the Pyro Diffusion site.
Cool. Not
These are my
required though,
stock.
right? To get the Lightning model
Definitely
to work.
not. No, most models should have a built-in or selected today. If you run into a grayish, washed out, desaturated model, let us know and we can usually fix that.
Okay.
So
just
now I've
for
got my normal
viewer,
prompts in here.
viewer clarification on this, the prompt in front of you, just to full transparency, I have copied and pasted Eggs's prompt here, and it is extremely awesome. The results are usually quite impressive. So this would be, I guess, like a deluxe version of the Lightning model in all its glory. Would you say that's about right? Like if you're looking for like a guaranteed probably pretty good results instead of just like the basic usage of it?
I think you could probably get away with, my little boilerplate here. You could get away with just, size, model, sampler, guidance, and steps.
Okay.
And you could probably get something pretty good. This is just what I use for pretty much everything. All these negative prompts and stuff down here. One thing to keep in mind, though, is with low guidance, I have read if you go to guidance 1 or below, your negative prompts start getting ignored for whatever reason.
Really?
That's just the way guidance works, apparently. So I've also read if you just go 1.1 or 1.5 or something like that, that should allow your negative prompts to still have some effect. But I would say rely on them less when you use these kind of models.
Sweet.
Let's try something out. Try an oil painting here. Let's see. Try. Let me go grab a couple artists here. There we go. Now I paste in some artist references, ones I use for a lot of renders just because they give a nice painterly look there. Let's see. How about, I would say Poseidon, but I don't know how to spell Poseidon. Poseidon.
I don't.
Yeah,
I
what was
before
that?
E, except after C. Poseidon. Poseidon.
Some good spelling chops on you. Still a thrill.
Spelling bee champion.
Well, there you go. I was running up in a geography one, but that knowledge has long since left my brain. Barnacle encrusted throne in an underwater kingdom. And then let's send it and see what we get. I should have thrown a close-up portrait in there just to get a nice tight crop on his face, but we'll see what we get. It was crazy fast. Look at that. That was in 11 seconds?
Wow.
That's fast.
That's amazing. Look at the result. Jeez.
That turned out much better than I thought it was gonna.
Holy.
That's a giant throne. He seems a little small for that throne.
And that's a straight render. Wow.
And let's see.
Excellent.
Let's
Lightning.
upscale it a bit. See if we can make it look even better. So one thing I've noticed with Lightning models, so you use the low steps on an initial render, and I find cranking them up a bit when you upscale helps. Now, I wouldn't say go too high. I also say wouldn't go too low. I say when you upscale, I would say use 12 to 25 steps with Lightning models. But, let us know if you get different results, better results with different steps, or it's all, we're all trying to feel it out here. So let's see, I put the same thing in there, so no refiner. I picked a resolution. So guidance, I keep at 2. You can put this up to about 6 and you'll get a lot more details, but you also start getting extra limbs, strange things. So I find keeping it at 2 is good. And then for strength, I do 0.5, which means half of the image technically gets changed. Half of the image gets replaced with noise again, and will be denoised. So you'll see that the composition will remain effectively the same, and most of the general placement of everything will be the same, but some details will change.
Interesting.
Let's see what we get.
For folks following along, some of these steps or the basic principles are in the Upscalers lesson on the Pirate Diffusion website. So I've copied one of Ags's influencer prompts, and you can just copy it there. And then there's a copy of the remix to higher resolution, and then one more step for an incremental size increase. So
yeah, after this gets upscaled, we could try something crazy. We can see if we can make this into a realistic, like a photo.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
There we go, upscaled.
Good.
Then you can keep on upscaling it just by increasing the resolution with the size command. I find it's never a great idea to take too large of jumps, because you'll start getting extra legs, or things that shouldn't become feet start becoming feet. Things start getting weird if you go too high too quickly. So we'll do basically the exact same command, but with a higher resolution.
Okay, so when you say too high too quickly, you're referring specifically to the size, so the pixel dimensions, right?
Yeah.
Like,
so here we've gone 344 to 1536. Let's say we had gone to 1800 from 1344. We would probably get things over here like the bottom of the throne would probably become like a foot, or he might grow an arm out of his belly, or a face out of his belly, weird stuff like that.
Oh, interesting. So I guess the name of the game here then is progressive rendering. So nice and slowly dial up the size higher and higher. Because
with Lightning and the crazy fast servers, Pirate Diffusion's got, it shouldn't take too long. So that's generally part of my workflow every time, is to upscale progressively like this. And you can limit the number of images too if you really want to do a little faster. Here we go. Now we're cooking with gas.
Cool.
Let's open that up, see how detailed we get. So you got most of these fingers right, so you can always keep trying. See the fine detail pretty much everywhere. But I thought, maybe let's try something crazy here. See if we can make him into a realistic photo with the remix command. So what I'm going to do is copy the prompt from Poseidon, because we don't want it to be a painting, so I'm not including any of those. So I'm going to copy that. Go back down. Let's just do this one. Let's see. Let's whip out one of my fancy dancy macros, and I'll explain what it's all about.
So
you can see this is very similar. My render command
between more and remix.
Yeah, well, so more will copy all the prompts. So that I wanted an oil painting. So when you use more, it copies that oil painting. So that'll still be in here. So now we're going to try to do realism. So we're going to use remix because we don't want to have that oil painting prompt anymore. But that requires us to re-add a lot of our prompts and all that information. So we use remix. So you can see this is effectively the same as my render, except for it has a remix, it has a strength, which I explained a second ago with more. And then you come down here and you'll see that I have in my macro a bunch of photography related prompts. So what we're going to do is we're going to add our Poseidon back into this, so that way it knows that we want Poseidon, and we Now we want him to be a photograph. And so one thing to remember with Remix is to not ever just put the new thing you want. You're not using it to edit. Remix is effectively, think of it as you're rendering a whole new image. So if I just wrote hat, like I wanted to put a hat on Poseidon, but technically the system is just trying to render you a hat, but it can only replace half of the pixels, so it's not going to be just a hat on a page.
Right.
So it's always best to put your full prompt back in and only the things you want to see.
When
Does that make any
remixing.
sense?
Yeah. Kind of like Remix is saying, start with this image and make this whole new image of blah. Whereas more is like, take my existing prompt, take everything, and adjust one or two small things. Is that about right?
Absolutely. Because I could take this picture of Poseidon and I could remix and say a crazy sci-fi chaotic space battle in space. And it would try to use all of these pictures. You would take the color, because it's only replacing half of this, and it would probably turn him into a mountain, turn this into a mountain range, and turn the fish into spaceships, because you're telling it a whole new thing to render. So let's send this and see what we get.
All right, so what do we got here?
So you can definitely see it's a little less painterly. It's not all that close up, so it's hard to tell that it's a photo. If I click back through, you can definitely see the jump here from painting to an upscaled realism.
Interesting.
And that was just a test here. I do know, however, that using this Lightning model is the best way I've found so far in any method to get good realism. If you wanted to take a look at that.
Yeah, for sure. I on the side here, I remixed a couple images that I just made for fun. I used your patented remix prompt. So I took this kind of guy holding a salad bowl here. It's okay. It's sort of semi-real. There's a bit of weirdness going on with the bottom of the salad bowl, but then I passed it into the remix through, I used RealViz 4 Light XL, and check it out. So I'm going to rapidly go back and forth here. So this is the after. There's the before. See how it's kind of smoothed out now after. There's extra textures on his clothing. The face is much, much more realistic. The hands are very cohesive. So again, going back, and then this is after. This is after the remix. So because it's XL, we've also got a lot more detail in the skin. There's even like hair on the arms. There's grain in the wood bowl. Products on the shelves have packaging. It's really impressive, Eggs. I'm shocked. This is awesome.
Okay, let's do close up. Portrait. Let's see. A baseball player and a dugout. This is just my standard 1.5 prompt here. See what we get. And I do have an example from earlier. So like I said, with upscaling, let's just click that. So this is a 1.5 render upscaled. It looks good, but the issue is you can still see some detail on the face and stuff, but it is not nearly as detailed as I find you can get with these Lightning models in Excel. Here's an example from earlier.
It gets even more detailed than that.
You definitely see all the little pores on the face, and that's really zoomed in. So you zoom out and it looks, if you weren't zooming in, you could barely tell that there's anything up here, anything not normal, anything not human. These are good for our AI or not page.
Wow. Yeah, no kidding. I think we're going to stump a lot of people with this workflow.
So let's see. Got a couple guys here. Let's try.
I almost wonder if the new normal for AI or not is going to be like if it looks too good, too detailed, too
or
perfect.
if the aspect ratio is a perfect square.
Right. Oh my gosh.
All right. One thing too, you can also do, like I said, it copies all of your prompts over when you use more. So if you want, you can just copy the model into more, and that'll switch it from Excel to, or from 1.5 to XL, just like that. If you keep all the Lightning settings, like steps and guidance. So if I just pop that in here, real viz,
Right, so more is
upscale
saying
it nicely for us.
don't change anything except for the following, right?
Yeah, exactly. Except for the parameters and the model you choose.
Right. So that you don't have to type it out all over again.
And I didn't add any of my 8K ultra high def prompts or whatever to this, so but it still should work very well because it's a realism focused model. Although, as you can see, it obviously did paintings and stuff pretty well.
Wow, that's pretty versatile. Those are really good photos too.
Let's see what we got. Oh, it did a race swap.
The resolution
so we
of
can
the
see it changed quite a
import
bit because of the strength here. You can also see how much it added to the facial details. You know, it's not making it perfect skin or perfect texture on absolutely everything, which is good because that's not how real life works. So if you're looking for realism, you're looking for how skin actually looks, little pock marks or texture, pores, little follicles. And that's just the initial upscale, and you can always take it higher than that. Let's see how much detail we can get. And here's the kicker, because like I said before, if we look at this one, how much it smooths out the face and those pores and makes it look too detailed or too perfect, too unrealistic, too not.
So
it's realistic, but it's not real in that way.
With that one there, that is a little too smooth, possibly even looking a little bit airbrushed or a little too perfect, as you said, with say like the fine grained details. How was that image created? Was that an XL render that was then upscaled?
So this is a 1.5 render that was just upscaled in the same model that it was rendered in.
Okay,
so a realistic
just
1.5 model, upscaled, I think, 25 steps with 6 guidance, which is a standard, for a non-LCM regular 1.5 model.
Right. So when you say upscale, do you mean the, not specifically the facelift, but like the more with slowly, incrementally, like progressively higher sizes?
Yeah. So either remix or more. I mean, you can they can both accomplish the same task, but more is a quicker thing if you want to keep things generally the same. But you can see with these Lightning models, all of that is pretty much right out the box. You don't have to do or add anything special to get these details. And these details are kept when you upscale. They don't go away after a certain amount of upscales. Yeah, if you find you want to do some realism with 1.5, but your details get washed away, consider just switching over to one of these Lightning models. And I was going to mention, Morgan updated the concept browser to give Lightning its own tag here. Same with LCM and Pony and detailers and all these things. So right now we have a couple Lightning models in here. We do have a really good anime model for Lightning. I think it's the only one that they've put on Civitai so far. And it's pretty impressive, so give that a shot. It's Atomics Anime.
Interesting.
But
so
here's
that's
all the ones we have currently.
Cool. Can we expect similar, like high quality or high fidelity, extreme detail results from all of these? Or Is it? I guess we've just gotten a
So
taste.
your mileage
and
may
it's where we
vary.
take the-
It all depends on whoever made them. RealViz
right.
is my favorite of all of these. It is definitely a well-known creator who makes that. It's a really reliable model. So if you have a reliable 1.5 model and they make a XL Lightning version, you can always put in a request and we'll try to get that on there pretty quick.
Awesome. So I took this image here, and then I put it into a remix. So this is after the remix to the Lightning XL model, and then just incrementally started dialing up the size slowly with, and I was also dialing down the strength as it got higher and higher. I lost a little bit of cohesion on her fingers, so you'll notice the finger. This is at let's see, 1792 by 2496. Her fingers are a little, there's some fudging going on, and I think she has probably like 5 too many knuckles here. But just as an example of some of the detail that comes out, look at that crown. My goodness. Wow. And the energy, or the smoke, fire, that's pretty remarkable. It's wonderful. It's like a toy box. You can take any image and just literally bring it to life. There's an idea for the command if we want to compress this workflow into one gigantic long command and give Talaka a ton of a big task. That's so fun. Thanks for showing that. That is a really nice deep dive into achieving realism with the Lightning XL models. So I think it's time to find out what's hot. Don't you, gents?
Do we have a sound effect for that?
Realness?
I don't know. We need the vuvuzela.
Frying pan.
Yeah.
Frying pan sound effect.
You'd mentioned FaceSwap. Now, can you walk us through that process right now? And then we can talk about the next one.
I'm on the piratediffusion.com website. If you want to follow along, click on Features up top and scroll down to the FaceSwap Your Own Photos lesson. Click on that. So there's 2 features. FaceSwap is an image-to-image feature where you already have 2 photos. You have the target photo and the input photo, and you want to switch one face to another. So it's like truly swapping the face. And we have some easy examples here that you can follow along with. Here we started with this very low-res picture, and we upscaled it a little bit so we can see the color of her eyes, and it gives us a debug ID. This debug ID is the name of the photo, and we can also save it as a preset, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. So here we've rendered an original photo, an AI persona, and you can face swap using the preset or the photo ID into the second photo. And that you'll notice her eyes were green, her lips were different, freckles, and now it looks more like the character from the input photo. And I posted these examples on the website to show you that it's garbage in, garbage out situation with FaceSwap. The photo, you can't really see her pores in this photo, so that's going to create a softer look when we do the FaceSwap. So if you're really going for very realistic results, the input photo has to be very, very sharp. So here's another example. Now this time, instead of doing a swap, we're doing a push. Push means that we are rendering a photo that doesn't exist yet. We don't know what the end result is going to be. And you can even specify the art style. We're using the last unicorn, which is a photographic, kind of an analog photo look. And we've pushed the preset face into that situation. And here's another example. So render, face push, photo ID, Shrek's wife. And you get something silly. So of course, these are low resolution drafts. This is 512 by 512. And we have some best practices at the bottom of the page here where you can solve for issues like blurry edges. Like I said earlier, if the quality is not sharp on the input photo, you're going to get a soft, obvious face swap. And you want to have light that's similar or very clear light. And it helps when the basic shape of the face is similar to the input. Whereas with Shrek, we have just a bizarre head, you're going to get some blurring and some clipping, and that's going to be pretty obvious. Although it's still pretty good, I have to say. That's definitely that's definitely her face, the way that her eyebrows look and the general shape of her face. Here's a couple of some silly examples from the dev team. Girl with the pearl earring, the very famous painting, and that's our developer. And this is me as Elsa pointing guns at people. Will Smith as Chungus. My man hugging a giant Chungus, whatever that means. I guess these are giant. A Chungus is like a meme rabbit on the internet. So you can see, like this photo, we can see details on his face, and the oils on the face and the stubble. So it will make a more convincing face swap in this case, as even if it's a low resolution, like I didn't target 768 or anything like that. So just some examples. Now let's do a real one in Pirate Diffusion. So with permission from my buddy, comedian John Carnage, we're going to use his face. When you send the photo to Telegram, make sure you have compression on, so it looks like a photo and not like an attachment. So I've made a control net preset. There it is. It's telling me that I can do all of these things with this photo. But what we want to do is we want to do a FacePush. We want to put John in a completely original situation. And this photo is pretty good. Like you can see, it's not the sharpest photo of John. This is like a 7 out of 10 quality, but we'll be able to have fun with it. So I'm going to say render, FacePush, John Carnage, world famous wrestler, portrait, accepting, is surrounded by goblins and weirdos. And it helps to target a realistic base model checkpoint. So let's go with last unicorn. I'm just give that a second to render. And notice this is handy. So when you set a preset, it will tell you the photo resolution of the image. So 500 by 500, not the highest res. So when you input a photo, that's maybe I would recommend a minimum of 768 by 768. All right. Okay, so check it out. I face pushed John Carnage into a completely original situation with my gremlins and whatnot, and there he is. And it made the gremlins also John. Incredible. So pretty good likeness. Look at John down there, and this is so awesome. Amazing. So you can invite Pirate Diffusion into your group chat with friends, and you can save each other's faces and send each other FacePush swaps into any kind of situation is pretty great. So for making characters, if you're bored of the same faces on your favorite models and you want to change it up and you want to introduce other kinds of faces, if you want to create a character and continue to move that character from scene to scene without building LoRa or complicated prompting, this is a really easy, quick way to do it. And as you can see, the results can be quite photorealistic when I'm not prompting for something ridiculous. So let's do a more serious face push. Do render, face push, John Carnage. Serious portrait of a man, 007, holding a laser pistol in his hotel room, in his luxurious hotel room. I'm going to increase the size a little bit. And while that's going, I will introduce a second photo so that you can see how FaceSwap works. So here's a photo of Will Smith. Paste that into my chat here. Now, when I have two images, I have John and I have Will, I can do FaceSwap just by replying to the image. And FaceSwap is its own command. It doesn't need a render, doesn't need anything like that. So FaceSwap, John Carnage, as I've defined it before. And it is almost instant. It runs really, really quick. It doesn't take any time at all. And there he is, handsome. It even did the facial hair, and that's really great. In the case where someone has a full beard, it may not work as well, but light facial hair, I believe the original John's portrait also had a little light beard, so it translated really, really well. Here's John as a secret agent. It can even do art styles. So we'll try John as that's amazing. We'll try John as an anime character next. And you remember there was a big hoopla about the Lensa app and how expensive it was. You pay, I don't know what it was, and you only get a certain amount of pictures back, and it was like a black box. And if you didn't like the pictures, you had to pay again. with Pirate Diffusion, you can do this all day, and it's unlimited, and you can just experiment all day long and have fun and do it with your friends, and it's just a riot. So some limitations, as you saw earlier in the wrestling example, when there's multiple faces in a photo, it'll hunt every face down and swap it out, and it may have trouble with faces that are at a slight right angle, or if the face is not realistic enough, it will ignore it. So in the case of like the goblin on the right, maybe this is too fantasy, but the goblin on the left looked human enough, and it took it. So just something to keep in mind. This is the upscaler facelift and /anime, and we can specify size, and that will reduce the realism bit so that you can get a more stylized photo. Smooths out the lines a little bit. You can see all of the noise is gone, and the photo looks more anime styled. So to review, FaceSwap is its own command. You can target an image, ControlNet reset, or the photo ID. So I would get the same. If I wanted to do this, you can copy this and do. If I said render FacePush, the copy ID, you want the whole thing, and IMAX 3D movie poster. It is XL. Okay, here we go. Okay, interesting. So, the Almax is the greatest comedian, and a cast of, it looks like Jesse James. Who's this other guy? Yeah, really interesting. So it does work with Stable Diffusion XL. So you can get much more convincing angles. You can clean up some of these little imperfections with in paint, but even like the little pictures are so good. They're definitely him. All right, so that's FacePush and FaceSwap. It's a lot of fun. I hope you have a lot of fun with it. Please FaceSwap and FacePush responsibly. Don't go posting crazy stuff on the internet. Don't go get yourself in trouble. Know the laws in your state and your country before you get into any kind of shenanigans on social media. Think twice. Be good. And I hope you have a lot of fun with it. I have a lot of fun with it. I use it all the time.
So we talked a little bit about FaceSwap, which is a step after you've got a nice render. You like the image, but maybe the face just isn't what you're hoping for. As we know, sometimes Stable Diffusion can kind of have a bit of a field day with the cohesion or the integrity of a face. Who knows what you're going to get? But with Pirate Diffusion's FaceSwap ability, as in sort of like an aftertouch or like a cleanup step to just force a specific face onto a model, it's sort of like facelift, but you can specifically tell it which face to use by referencing another image. You can also pass it a number of images, a specific size as well, and that's the FaceSwap command, similar to how facelift has a few arguments as well. Now, then we talked about FacePush, which would be an inline, sort of like an argument, as they would say, of a render, or you could put it into Remix, you could put it into more. I think any of the major commands of Pirate Diffusion it should work for. But just nothing with XL yet, or at the time of this recording, it didn't. It was just exclusively for SD 1.5 models. All right, so we covered a lot today, and I think it's probably a good time to call it here. So once again, thanks for tuning into the Pirate Diffusion Show. I'm your host, Squibduck, and my two co-hosts, Eggs Benadryl and Captain Morgan Freeman. We wish everyone a wonderful good evening or afternoon or whatever it is right now. Have a great time.